Gute Woche. We are up to the Mishnah on Daf Samach Amud Aleph. 8 lines from the top. Zog Tehillah V'Gama. Lo Yiftach Adam L'Chatzara Shutfin. A person should not open up from his home to a Chatzar of Shutfin. Pesach K'neget Pesach. The Chaloin K'neget Chaloin. Even if you're allowed to open up a Pesach, you have the right to do so. If you're not allowed to open up a door in your home that's directly opposite somebody else's door. And we'll see soon, it's for tznius reasons. The chaloin connected a chaloin. You're not allowed to open up your window where you'll be able to look straight in to your neighbor's window. Haya cotton. But if you had a small door, lo yasen gadol, you're not allowed to enlarge it. Echad, if you had one door, lo yasen ushnayim, you're not allowed to make two doors on it. Avo peiseachud or shusarabim. You're allowed to open up a door to the Rishus Rabbim, even though directly across the street, Pesach, Keneged Pesach, even though directly across the street, somebody else has a door open. The Chaloin, Keneged Chaloin, the same thing is a window facing the Rishus Rabbim, you're allowed to open up, because anyway, he doesn't have privacy there, because there's a Rishus Rabbim there. And the same thing with Hayakot, if you had a small window facing Rishus Rabbim, you're allowed to enlarge it. And if you had one window, you're allowed to make it into two. How do you know that you're not allowed to open up a door or a window connected to somebody else's for tznius purposes? Bilam saw Klal Yisrael shoichin l'shvatov, and he said, "Matoivu elecha Yaakov." Mara, what special did he see about Klal Yisrael? He saw that the openings, the entrances to each of their tents were not facing each other, rather they were offset from each other, so that no one would be able to see into other people's private halom. Omar, he said, Klal Yisrael, who are tzniistic, they're royu to have hashras hashechinah. Beautiful Gemara. Zog to Gemara Baitim. Sofa Rabbi Bar Chama Lameimar. Rabbi Bar Chama, the response is why should it be altered to make a door bigger? Once there's a door there, so then I could see you walking around. So why would it be a problem to make a door bigger? Zog to Gemara, Sober Rabbi Bar Chama Lameimar, Bar Dalid Loy L'Shavia Bar Taman. The opening of the door, making the door bigger, it's not all tznius, he thought. Rather, it's because there's a halacha that when you have a door, connected your door, if you come out, if you walk out your front door, you're entitled to 4 amas of private space, like as a driveway, by a minimum of 4 amas width, but as a maximum, as wide as your doorway is, you get 4 amas into the chutzner to be your private driveway. So Rabbi Bar Chama thought that the reason why it was not allowed was because of a chutzner, a karka, a land issue. Rabbi Bar Chama l'meimar bas dalid loy l'shavya bar tamanya, a bas dalid. If you had a 4 amma wide opening, you're not allowed to make it wider into 8 amas, because what you're doing is now you're going to be expanding your driveway, taking property away from the shutfas. Now you're taking a 4 amma wide driveway and making it into an 8 amma wide driveway. Abo bar tarti, what if you only had a doorway that was only 2 amas wide? Or anyway, you're entitled to a driveway that's 4 amas wide by 4 amas long. There, l'shavia bar arba shaperdomi. There, you would be able to widen your opening to 4 amas because you're not taking any more driveway space. Because Rabbi Bechama thought that this was a land issue, not a tznius issue. Amalei Rava argued. Rava said, Matzi Amar Loi, the Pescha Zutra, Matzina Litz Tanui Minach, the Pescha Rabba Loi Matzinu is Tanui Minach. If you have a narrow doorway, there's a limit to what you could see. I could move off to the side and get tznius. But if you have a massive wide doorway, it's literally like a big window straight into my house, and that would lack in tznius. Echad lo yasanu shnai. If you had one door, you shouldn't split it in half. Again, the Rabbi Bar Chama thought it was a land issue. So Rabbi Bar Chama lememar bar boy lo l'shavya trei b'nei tarti tarti. If you have a doorway that's 4 amas wide, don't split it into 2 separate doorways that are each 2 amas wide, because the minimum you're going to have is 4 amas wide by 4 amas deep. So you're going to double the amount of your driveway, taking land away from the shutfis. Dikashakel tamni b'chotzer. You're ending up taking a driveway that's a total of 8 amas wide. Aval by tamni l'shavya b'nei arboy yishaberdoni. But if you already had a doorway that was 8 amas wide, and you want to now split it into 2 separate doorways that are each only 4 amas wide, there you're not taking any land away from the shutfis, and that would be allowed. And on that, Rava said, Amalei Rava, Matzi Amalei Bechat Pischa Matzina Tanui Minach, Betrei Loi Matzina it's Tanui Minach. If you have one big doorway, so in that area, I don't have privacy, but I can go to a different area in the Chotzer. But you making 2 doors, now in 2 areas, I'm going to have an issue of privacy, and therefore I have a right to stop you from doing that. Even though you're not taking away any more land for your exclusive driveway. Zog the Heilige Gemara weiter, although Beisei Chulu Shus Harabim Pesach Kenegat Pesach. Why is that? The Omer Lei, the person opening up this new doorway, could say Soif Habos it's Tanuyim if they were Shus Harabim. You don't have any privacy in the front of your house anyway, because the people of the Rosh Hashanah are right there. So there's no problem with me opening up another door across the street. Zok the Heilige Mishnah weiter. Ein oisin chalal tachas Rosh Hashanah. You're not allowed to dig under the Rosh Hashanah. Imagine you need more storage space in your field. So you dig a big pit in your field, adjacent to the Rosh Hashanah, and then you dig horizontally and you tunnel under the Rosh Hashanah. You hire an ex-Hamas guy to tunnel for you. The Tanakhama says you can't do that. Boyer Sheikh and Amaris digging any type of tunnel underneath. Rabbi Elazar Mater. Rabbi Elazar's mutter is long, it's a reinforced tunnel that Kedei Shetehei Agala Maleches Atunavim. As long as a typical fully loaded truck can drive over it, and the structure of your tunnel will be able to support the weight, and it won't crush down, that would be good enough. As it begins to weaken, as it ages, a truck could fall through. Rabbi Lezer, the Gemara says, is only a worry about here and now. The Gemara says, Tanakama we're worried that sometime in the future it'll deteriorate, and then a truck will fall through. Frekter Ashbam. So big deal, a truck falls through. So he'll sue the guy who dug the mire and he'll get paid. Teretz is, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to have a problem not to sue you. Better get yourself out of the Rosh Hashanah, pull out the tunnel so that you won't cause a potential damage to the Rosh Hashanah. And we'll see that in the Gemara. Ein Moitziin Zizin Ugezestrois Rosh Hashanah. Imagine your house, the wall of your house is right on the property line. And now you want to build a porch. So you have beams cantilevering out from your house that you could now put a platform on to build a porch. You're not allowed to have that. You're infringing on the Rosh Hashanah. Ella Imrato, what if you bidavka wanted a porch? You have to not build your wall on the property line, build it recessed in 2-3 feet, and then you can have a 2-3 foot porch, but this way your porch will not extend over the Rosh Hashanah. What if lokach chotzer ubazizin uxustarets? What if you bought a chutzner and it actually had a porch sticking out over the Rosh Hashanah? Harezah b'chatzkaza will assume that whoever you bought it from had a chazaka. Maybe the way he did it was he originally set back his property, but for whatever reason, we'll assume that the previous owner had that porch there legally, and therefore the lokeach can maintain. Zok the Gemara. Why do the Rabbanan say it's a strong tunnel I'm building? Big trucks can drive over it. Why should there be a problem? Why do the Rabbanan argue on Rabbi Eliezer? Because Zimnin the mafchis v'lavatate. Over time, it'll deteriorate, and then the tunnel could collapse, and no one's going to be watching it. Therefore, we don't allow it at all. Zokta heilige Gemara weiter in Maitin Ziza Nuxusteros. Rabami Havale Ziza the Nofik Lenuva. He had a ziz that wasn't going out to the Rosh Hashanah, but it was over the Mavli. Just to help us visualize what this is, you have a major street. We'll call that the Rosh Hashanah. Off that major street, there's a minor street that we're going to call a Mavli. It's like a busy side street. And on either side of the Mavli, there's 3 entrances to get into a chutzner. And each chutzner might have 2 batim. So on the left side of the Mavli, you have 6 batim, 2 times 3. And on the right side of the Mavli, you have 2 times 3. And they're all facing this Mavli. And Rabbi Ami, his house was right up in his chutzner, right up against the wall of the Mavli. And he had a porch sticking out over the Mavli. And what happened? And then Bahu Gavra Nami Havala Ziza of a Mapik Mushos Rabbi. You had another fellow, he also had a porch, but it wasn't sticking out over the Mavli, it was sticking out over Mamish Rosh Hashanah. And the people of Shasam were complaining, and they came to Bezdin, does he have to remove that porch? So they came to Rabami. Also the Kamed Rabami. Amal Rabami Paskin, I'm sorry, Zil Koitz, you better go cut. You better cut your porch off. Amalei, the owner of the porch said, don't be a hypocrite. Well, Amar Nami Islay. You also have a porch sticking out over the moment. Zokr Bami, there's a very big difference. It goes out into a Mavi. There's 12 families in the Mavi. I know exactly who I need to ask for permission. And I spoke to each family who shares the Mavi with me. And they were mindful. So that's why I'm allowed to do it. But the Dach, you're supposed to Rosh Hashanah. Man machal gabach. Any person who can potentially walk in that Rosh Hashanah could be moicha. So how is it possible for you to get a mechila? You cannot, and therefore you must remove your porch. Rabbi Yanai had an Elon that was leaning over in Rosh Hashanah, and Havahu Gavra Tavalanami Elon hanoit Rosh Hashanah. There was another person who had exactly the same tree. Also, when Rosh Hashanah, the Bnei Rosh Hashanah came, and they were complaining about the other guy's tree, not about Rabbi Yanai's tree. And who did they complain to? Also the Kamed Rabbi Yanai. He came to Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai chapped right away that they probably don't like his tree either. But they stares them. They're uncomfortable protesting Rabbi Yanai's tree. So instead, they protested the other guy's tree. So Rabbi Yanai chapped it right away. So Amalei, you know what Rabbi Yanai told him? Let's turn over on to Amud Beis. Zil ha'idna. I can't pass in this shiloh now. Go home. V'solam machar. Come back tomorrow. Bilelia, that night, quickly Rabbi Yanai went. Shada katzia lahudi day. He cut down his tree. He knew that the oil was not happy with him, so he cut it down. Lamachar the next day, also the kamei, the two baladim came. Amalei, and he told the other fellow with the tree, Zilkoitz. So the fellow said, why should I cut mine down? Amalei hamar nami isle. Don't be a hypocrite. You also have such a tree. Amalei, so Rabbi Yanai answered, Zilchazi, go check it out. E koitz didi. If mine is cut down, koitz didach, then you should cut yours. Eloi koitz didi. If I didn't cut mine, as you're complaining, loy sockets at, you don't have to cut yours. So Frank Gemara, if Rabbi Yanai knew that it was inappropriate for him to have that tree, so why did he have the tree? Even before people complained. He shouldn't have infringed on Rosh Hashanah. Meikar Ma'asavar. And then a little beside Masavar. Why was it necessary for him to cut his tree down first? He could have paskin, and then he could have told him, I'll cut my tree down as well. Zoktimar Meikar Savar, originally, the reason why he had that tree there, because he thought the Bnei Rosh Hashanah would be happy with it. Nichelahu, the Bnei Rosh Hashanah, the Yosy Betula. It would be nice to have the area of shade in the Rosh Hashanah. If somebody wants to rest at the side of the Rosh Hashanah, he would have been able to rest in the shade of a Bianai tree. He thought that it was desirable. Given the Chadu, the Kama Akvi, once he saw that the Bnei Rosh Hashanah did not like it, right away, showed the Kansha. He right away cut it down. Frank the Gemara, why did he have to cut it first? The layman said, he should have said, you cut yours down and I'll cut mine down. We live from there. First, you have to fix yourself. Then you can give musr to other people. What would happen if kanes v'loy? What happened if you built a house and you wanted a porch over there by the Rosh Hashanah? So you pulled your walls back exactly like the Mishnah says, so that now you can put your porch up. But you didn't do that right away. You waited a couple of years, and now you want to build your porch. Are you allowed to build your porch? Or maybe since you didn't build your porch or you recessed your walls, it's too late. You're allowed to do it. You're allowed to put your porch up. You won't be able to do it anymore. And let me explain to you what the machlokes is, and it's not about the porch. Everybody agrees that anytime in the future, if you set your wall back, you could put out your porch. What if you changed your mind after you recessed your wall and you decided you want more space in your house and you want to push your wall right up to the Rosh Hashanah? Would that be allowed? And Zogt Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Yaakov, the Ibcha Itmar. And the Shitas are exactly the opposite the way you quoted them. It's Rabbi Yochanan It's Rabbi Yochanan who holds that you can't move the wall back out. And Rish Lakish Amar Machzer, and Rish Lakish holds you could move it. Rabbi Yochanan in Machzer, Mishum Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda made so shechziku by Rabbim. Also, once you give space to the Rabbim, you can't take it back. Rish Lakish Amar Machzer. When do you say Meitzar? Shechziku by Rabbim. Also, the that's if they have a path, and you're going to shut the path down. And now they have no way of getting from point A to point B. But here in the Rosh Hashanah, you gave the Rosh Hashanah a little extra space. So you made it wider. Now you're making it thinner. That doesn't have the rule of Osher L'Kalkaloi. Because you're still leaving a path there, you're just taking back some of the property and you're narrowing the path. Gewaltig. Zog to Gemara weiter. If you bought it and it was that way, you can keep it. What about Nafla? You had a house that was legally built with a porch, and then it fell down. You're allowed to rebuild it. In other words, it's grandfathered in. You don't have to stick to the new code. You don't have to meet the new code. You can rebuild your house the same way it was before. Measure effect the Gemara. The halacha is that after the Churban Bayis, we can't build the same beautiful homes that we used to build. And therefore, ein mesaidin, you're not allowed to use a special white plaster that makes it look very nice, your house. Vein mechayrin, which Rashbam teaches either as a very super white type of plaster, or it means making patterns in the plaster. Vein mefaychin, and you're not allowed to draw beautiful, colorful pictures on the walls. Bizman hazeh. Nowadays, after the Churban Beis HaMikdash, but loka chotzer misuyedes, mechuveres, or mufuyachas, if you bought a house that was built this way, and it's still from before the Churban, it's grandfathered in. But nafla, if it collapsed and you want to rebuild it, you can't rebuild it. So, Frank Gemara, why? Lagabi building a house after the Churban Bayis, don't you say that you're grandfathered in and you have to meet the new codes? And why, by the porch, do you say that you could rebuild it the same way? And for the Gemara, Yisura Shiny. When you're talking about an Isser because of Korban Bayis, yeah, that applies to when you build a new house now. But when you're talking about a question of mominus, of infringing there, your rights to build there was grandfathered. Tanur Loy Yosud Adam Espesoi Besid. You shouldn't plaster with this beautiful white plaster ever since the Korban Bayis because of Avelos. But if you mix some sand into it, so it's not so super white, or straw, mutter, because then it's not so beautiful anymore. If you mixed in sand, hareza tarchsid, the sand actually, although it makes it not so white, but it tremendously improves the strength of the plaster, and therefore it would still be osir. But teven, if you mix straw into it, that doesn't make it stronger, and it reduces the brightness of the white. Mutter there will be mutter. Tanur Rabban. When the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Rabu Perushim B'Yisrael, there were many Yidden that wanted to refrain from some of the pleasures of the world because of the Avelos. Shaloi lechol basar, not to eat meat, v'shaloi l'shtosh yayin, not to drink wine. So Nitbal Lahen Rabbi Yeshua engaged with them and told them it's excessive. Amar Lahen, Bonai, my dear children, Mipnei ma atem oichlin basar, v'ein atem shoyshim yayin. Why are you doing this? Amar Lahen told them, Noichal basar, we should eat meat. Shemimenu makrivin al gabe mizbeach v'ach shabatul. They used to be makriv this meat on the mizbeach, and now they're not. How could we eat meat? Nishte yayin sheminaskin al gabe hamizbeach v'ach shabatul. How could we drink wine? They used to bring the sachim on the base on the mizbeach, and now it's not. How can we drink wine? Amalem. So Yeshua told them, if you're going to take this formula, then there's a lot more things you should refrain from. You shouldn't even eat bread anymore. And you can eat pears, so you can survive without the bread. Or even pears, you shouldn't even eat all types of pears. Because there's no more bikurim. And after pears and you can still eat something, you won't starve. You'll eat pears that aren't brought for bikurim. You shouldn't drink any more water. And you should drink pears. So Shasku, they didn't have an answer. So Amalami told him, Banai, my dear children, Boyu come lechem. Let me tell you what the moderate way and the right way to handle our avelos for the Beis Hamikdash. We can't say that you shouldn't be mizabel. Shekvar nigzur agzera. Rachman l'tron, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. But ulis abel yoyser midai yevsh. But to overdo it is not good either. Why? Shein goyshvin gzera ala tzibur elo imkein roiv tzibur yochayim lamedno. You never make a gzera unless it's a gzera that roiv the tzibur could withstand it. And to be so restrictive is too much for most people. How do you know that roiv people have to be able to do this? No. You're cursed because you didn't fulfill the Kabbalah, the gzera that everybody in Klal Yisrael is makabel. Therefore, you got punished. Then you're complaining to me. Hagoy Kula, the whole nation, meaning the whole nation accepted this gzera. So you see from here that you only make a gzera if the whole nation accepts it. Elakach Amru Chachamim. Zok Rabbi Yeshua, this is what the Chacham taught us to do. Sad Adam es Bezoy Besid, but Umishayir Boy Davar Mourn. Leave a place where you don't have the plaster, which is what we do. The Kama, how much? Amr Rabbi Yosef, Amma al Amma. A square Amma. Amr Abchista, and it has to be Keneged HaPesach. Again, Oisei Adam Kol Tzarchi Suda Umishayir Davar Mourn. When you prepare a meal, leave over one little Michael. Take something out of the menu. Mahi, what? Amr Papa Kasad Arsena, fried fish. The Poskim say this doesn't apply anymore. In those days, every meal was a set menu. So if one part was missing, it would be obvious that there's a reason for it. It's to show avelos. But nowadays, everybody makes their own random menus. So if you leave something out, it doesn't show anything to the guests that something's missing here, and therefore it's a similar velus. So therefore, this does not apply anymore nowadays. Is what the poskim say. Okay, what else should you do? A woman shouldn't doll herself up to the max with all her jewelry and all her makeup. Rather, she should leave one little bit out. Mahi, what should she leave out? Amarav Basada. They used to use some hair remover on their temples. They shouldn't do that. Shenemar, where do you see that you have to leave a zeichel churban? In Eshkachech Yerushalayim Tishkach Yimini Tidbak L'Shani L'Chim. So it says, Im Ala is Yerushalayim al Rosh Simchasi. My al Rosh Simchasi. Where is it negay by a simcha to have a zeichel? These are the ashes that you put on the head of the chassan before she goes to the chuppah. Where exactly do you put the ashes on the chassan's head? The makom tefillin, in the place of his tefillin shel rosh. Shenamar losum lavei leitzion loseis lam pe'er takas efer. Hashem is going to give pe'er takas to efer. Pe'er refers to the tefillin. So you see the pe'er is the same place as the efer and vice versa. V'chol ha'mitzabel Yerushalayim. Someone who's misabel on Yerushalayim, zoiche v'roye b'simchas. He'll be zoiche to see the simcha of Yerushalayim. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, simchu es Yerushalayim, freizach mit Yerushalayim, v'gilu ba kol hayaveh, sisu ita misois, sisu oisa misois, kol ha'misabel muleh. Who's going to rejoice with the Beis HaMikdash? Those who are misabel with the Churban Beis HaMikdash now. Tanya Amar Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, Yom Shachar Beis HaMikdash Dinhu, Shenigzar al Atzmeinu Shlo Lech al Basar Vel Elisha Zhay. Really, we should not eat meat. Really, we should not drink wine. Ella in Geizun Gzer al Tzibur Elam Kain Roiv Tzibur Yechoynan Lamagba. Yom Shapashta Malchus Harsha, and when the evil empires took control over us, and they made wicked gzeres upon us. Shakezeres aleinu gzeres rois v'kashas. Umavatelas mimenu Torah. They ask us to learn Torah. Umitzvahs, and they ask us to do mitzvahs. They menechas oisanu likanos l'shavu abed, and they don't let us make bris milah on our children. V'amila l'shu abed, and they don't let us make pidyon abed. Dinu shenigzer al asmeinu. Really, we should be geyser on ourselves, and we should refrain from shalalisa isha. We shouldn't even have the pleasure of marrying a wife and to have children. Frank Toysvis, there's a mitzvah puravu. Zok Toysvis, avada, it means you should have the mitzvah puravu. But after you have one son and one daughter, then you shouldn't live with your wife anymore. And then Klal Yisrael is going to disappear. Ella, that we can't do that. Let the Yidden get married, let them live normally with the special simonim of Avelus that the Chazal has dictated for us. Because Mutav Shiu Shoygin Bayumazidin. It's better they should marry women and not even realize that it's an Aveira, that it's inappropriate. It's not an Aveira, it's just inappropriate because of Avelus, rather than you should publicize an Isser and then they're not going to follow it. Therefore, we only follow the halachas of Avelus, of Zeichel Churbans, as dictated by the Shulchan Aruch, as dictated by Chazal from the Gemara. Baruch Hashem, we were zeicher to finish the beautiful pair of Chetzkas Abatim and Beli Neder, Hadin Allah Chetzkas Abatim, Beli Neder, Hadin Allah Chetzkas Abatim, Beli Neder, Hadin Allah Chetzkas Abatim. As Hashem, tomorrow morning at 7 and at 9 and at 8:30 p.m., we're going to learn Taf Samach Aleph, the first blot of a Moicher Sabayis. A good Tavach to everybody, a Gebench Tavach, a Mazel Tavach.